Hello and welcome to Dell's Gaming, and this is from the depths, and it's been quite a few updates have gone through the system in the last little while since I was on, plus I've been busy, and just gonna have a look at a couple of items. So first of all, we're running, or I am running, version 2.4.5.6 I believe is the version at this moment. And first thing is, you'll notice that there is a difference to the UI. The basic UI has got this new design look to it, which I think is okay. There's a few issues, like for instance on the left hand side you'll notice there's some buttons to press which you can't, like to view block density is Shift and P, but you really can't see that on that size of UI on the left. So otherwise the main ones are okay. I don't know, I can't see that even if I manually zoom and get my head in there. Other areas which are changed is under the block menu. This size, like you can see, and also now these pictures have updated, which I think is really good. So all of the items have a new update to them. Blocks have been, I think we'd already discussed that the blocks had been increased with like rubber having all of its sizes. Other than that, I think that's it for this particular update. But something I wanted to have a look at was a change in the previous update I didn't get a chance to really go over, and that is to do with missiles, decoys, and some new mechanics for how missiles target a particular vessel. And so what I've set up first of all is a little vessel out there which can fire missiles at me, and then we can test to see what happens. So first of all, your vessel is to be based upon your detection ranges. Now you have to forgive me a little bit here. The new system for these detections, as you can see up this menu up the top here, I middle mouse button and then I can say select the infrared, and then it will display. Now that's okay. Now in build mode it continues to display, but if I go out of build mode it comes off. That's an annoyance, but such is life. So we'll stay in build mode just so we can see. So this particular vessel has an infrared range of 211, and that's partially because I've got these refineries on. So if I turn the refineries off, you'll see my infrared range goes down. What else have we got? So sonar is pretty damn big, and radar is out at 1000, and wireless is out at 1100. So you can see we've got quite a large range. So 137, that's going down. Now we're going to simulate quite a large ship here, so I'm going to turn the refinery back on so that the infrared signature of this ship goes up. Now how does let me turn this off for the moment. I'm going to have to go into here and then turn it off here. Okay, so how does the targeting work? Well, everything's got this signature, and the missiles, as they are aiming at a target, will look at what is got the largest signature in their range, and depending on the angle off the nose it may decide to go for a different target. If something bigger, a larger signal, a larger heat source, a larger radar source, etc. comes up to it. So at the moment all the missiles would just come and target me, hit, no problems. So we've got there's going to be effectively two ways now to get the missiles to not hit you. The first one we're going to look at is these the heat decoys, radar decoy, and there's also a sonar decoy down here. And basically what they do is they increase the signature range of your vessel, and also makes this a point of impact. So if we look once again at our sources here, if I now increase the power used on this heat decoy, we'll put it up to 100 to start with. You'll notice that there's a maximum temperature and it's using power to increase its temperature. You'll also notice our infrared signal has already increased to up to 1,300 meters. So we are this is a very hot target in comparison. Now I'm going to put this up quite high. Let's put this up to 500. So we're going up to 6,000 temperature. You can see the infrared signal out there now is extremely high. So that makes that signal, or this particular, a very hot target. So if anything's set to go at a hot target, it's going to aim at this particular item. Next we have the radar. So if we have a look at our current radar signature, so our current radar signature is 1,000 meters. If I bear with me, let me just go here again, and we set this up to 500 as well. We can see we've gone 1,500. Let's just see if that is correct. If I put that down to 0 again, yeah, 1,063. So that's added an extra 500. We'll put this up to 1,000 actually. 2,000 meters. So you can see we're adding quite a high. Now, one thing I noticed with radar, so radar systems don't pinpoint this particular decoy. They just make this ship a target, and we'll see that in a minute. Now, we have got the chaff, which we'll look at separately. Now, the final one is our sonar. So if we go sonar, we're currently 747 meters. Let me just bring that up there. There we go, 747. So if we'll give this 500 as well. And we're now 1,247 meters as a target. Now, one thing I noticed with the sonar, they will go for this particular target. So now what I'm going to do, let me just bring this off here. I'm going to actually fire some missiles at us as a little barrage, and we'll go and have a quick look at the missile system. So I've got a very simple missile base here, which just fires off a number of different missiles. We've got a infrared, a single pixel infrared, and a radar in medium, same in small, and a sonar torpedo. And basically, using the enemy simulator, it will start firing at our design fort. So I'll just trigger that off and get back to the fort. Now I have turned on the AI pathing so we can see where the missiles are targeting. So we can see the infrared ones were going for the decoy, but once the decoy was destroyed, they stopped going for it. The radar ones are still just going for random locations on the vessel. They're not specifically targeting the radar decoy. So it got a second salvo coming off, and we got again the infrared. You can see the torpedo, sonar torpedo, is going for our decoy. The infrared went for the decoy, but the radars are still just going for random blocks. So all in all, we're going to look at a different way of using this block in a little while, but for a single ship, the sonar decoy works well if you put this at a, shall we say, a non-critical part of the ship, and the same for the heat decoy. If you had multiple heat decoys, then these will potentially reduce the damage by directing the missiles at a less critical part of the ship. But the radar decoy is purely making us more of a target. So the next item we have is the Chaff Dispenser. So if we look, our range at the moment for radar is 1063 meters. Now this works in a different way by reducing our radar signature. So if we set materials used, so instead of using power, this uses raw materials per second. Now one thing I noticed with this is it mainly has an effect in the areas in the left, right, etc., but directly up we've still got a high value. But you can see in some of these directions we're down to 63 meters, so that's quite a reduction in radar signature we've got running there. Now it can help, but you're not going to be, it can help to reduce your signature, but it's not going to totally make you invisible. But it will help to ensure that missiles will possibly go for a different target. So what else we can use to decoy the incoming missiles is the sticky flares for missiles is one area to create a heat source, and we're just going to eject those out at any item coming in fairly close. So we just enable that one, and also these radar target simulator, which is a new element, which if we click on it, you'll notice we've got a max radar simulation signal strength. So we're creating a 300 point radar signal with this particular decoy. So we've got some of those, and then also down here we've got a sonar version. So again we're creating a 300 strength sonar target, and I will just activate that as well. Now all of the other decoys have been disabled, so as the missiles come in to target us now, we can see some of them are having a problem, and we've got flares being sent out. Some of them went for the flares, but not all of them. Actually, I think most of them didn't even go for the flares there. You can see that they're just not being affected by those flares as much as they used to. And also the torpedo is not going for those small sonar targeting systems. So basically those flares and the radar signals is just not enough to be able to decoy over the missiles that are coming. So we're going to have to up the level of decoy. So next we're going to add in a medium flare. Now the medium flare basically is going to create, you see here it's a 2000 heat strength to add into the decoy, as opposed to a 300 decoy strength. So this is a significantly higher strength of decoy. And also we're going to put this radar decoy in, and this radar decoy has a strength again of 2000. So these are significantly stronger decoys. Now we're going to leave the radar chaff working, and also torpedo again here, a sonar target. We've got a 2000 strength on the sonar, and we'll enable that as well. So with all of those active, we've now got our missiles coming in, and there's the sonars being tracked off, the heat and the radar. Actually most of these did get pulled over. I think a few got through, but everything by the larger flare and radar decoys did actually get pulled off from the target. So that was working. That's significantly reduced the number of missiles which are coming through and targeting us. Now the other part is the reverse, how to then make the missiles avoid the decoys. And that in our missiles is we can add a new part, which is the signal processor. Now the signal processor will basically reduce the effectiveness of decoys. So if we go down, just trying to find it now, decoy missile signal strength reduced to 15%, so 15% of normal rate. Now if we add multiple signal processors, has no effect, so it's only a single value for the signal processor. So I'm just going to reconfigure the missiles to use the signal processor, and then we'll start one more attack. So all the missiles have now had a single signal processor added to them, so we'll see how the missiles get deflected. So you can see they are now, some of them are getting pulled off, but most of them are still aiming at our main ship. They're not getting pulled away by the flares. They are getting pulled a little bit by the big flare, but most of them now are hitting the target, including the torpedo, which I think did not get pulled away by the sonar decoy. So they work, and means that these are, you'd have to either make these really big or more effective. There is another way we can use all of these to reduce the damage on our large vessels. So what we're going to do is I'm going to turn off some of these items and just look at how we can decoy them away totally from our ship. So what we have here is a slightly modified standard raft, and I've added some decoys on the back. So there is a heat decoy, radar decoy, they're all set at 350, and there is a sonar decoy. Plus it's going to be firing out some interceptors, which are the traditional way of, shall we say, of taking out missiles that are still valid. So it's going to try to absorb all the missiles towards it. Now it's got enough power to power all of these items, and it will receive power from the main ship. So the idea being this is going to be sacrificial, hopefully, in comparison to the main ship. So we can now see the first infrared missiles are targeting the ship. Some of them are still going back on our main ship at the moment, but they are being absorbed. Some of them are going over this way, but it's certainly reducing the number of missiles which are going to the main ship. And if we make it go closer towards the enemy, so it's in between the ships, so our decoy ship is now in between, and I've upped the values of the decoys a little bit, and a few are still not going for it, but most of the infrared are now being drawn away by our decoy ship and subject to interceptors. And also I think our sonar, unfortunately the torpedoes at that point still were not going for the decoy, and might need some extra power. But basically it's adding how much power can you add to this, basically a sacrificial ship. Is getting the power from the main ship. So basically if you use electric engine, it'll take power from here to support it. If we look at the energy usage, as long as it's within the energy range, the ship will get its energy from the ship here to power all of the decoys. So, and also being in between, it's basically going to pick out some of the missiles with its own interceptors. It's also moving around just fast enough, being small, to be able to dodge. So yeah, all in all, that's okay. It's a reasonable idea. So in conclusion, I can't show one aspect which is supposedly changed, and that is the angle off of a missile that affects a targeting. Because not moving target, it's a bit more subjective, but I've got a feeling that fast moving vessels will be more difficult to target than stationary, because as the missile is pulled away from its target, it's less likely to go back to the original target. But generally, large ships, infrared ones will be okay for large ships using the target decoy. It will help to reduce infrared, but radar ships, a large radar ship is just a big target, and it's going to get targeted by the radar missiles. The Chaff Dispenser, yes, it will reduce it, but it's not really going to stop the missiles coming in. I think the best options are still missile-based decoys and flares for missiles without signal processors. But interceptors are still going to be the best way, and or CIWS type of guns to take out missiles, or make your ship, fairly able to withstand missiles in various ways, EMP or otherwise. Missiles are weak in comparison to guns, so this hasn't really nerfed them too much. It does mean to make your missile good, which I'm going to look at how to make good missiles in the next video as well, is how to make good missiles with these new rules and effects in place. But you're going to have less warheads in your missiles because you're going to need room for your signal processor. So you are going to have less fins or less warheads, etc., to be effective. The radar side of decoy here, I think that is good if you use these ships which are act as we'll call it picket ships. So we have our main vessel, which may use a chaff dispenser when missiles are in close, just to reduce its radar signature. But I think I would put heat and radar decoys on some small ships, some frigates, etc., which, as we have here, get in between the target and the main ship, and basically take out the missiles and decoy them away. I think that could be a valid system if you have multiple ship fleets. Anyway, hope that's been somewhat useful. As I say, next time I may well look at building missiles, how to make some good missiles for various usages, because I'm going through rebuilding all of my fleet anyway with these new AI and systems, so I need new missiles to fit into my standard missile launchers anyway. So maybe it's time to have a look at some good effective missiles against the white flares and other, well, mainly the white flares at the moment, because they are my main protagonist. Until next time, hopefully it won't be quite as long, but please leave a thumbs up, and any comments or anything else that you think might be helpful or useful, please let me know down below. But until then, have a good time and have fun.